Hey friends, welcome back into the studio. Today I am starting with a little sketch that I found and put in my day planner, which I've been using a lot lately. You've seen I've been really busy. So that is helping inspire me along with the echinacea in my garden. And I am skipping ahead because, as you could see, I am several months behind because I had a very, very busy spring and early summer doing lots of teaching residencies. So I'm an artist in residence. I travel around to different schools and do various programs that are arts and fiber arts focused. And that's how I make a lot more money than doing this. But anyway, I'm trying to get back into my garden journal. I don't want to slip too far behind. And I am just kind of skipping ahead. I'm skipping to over May and June. I have some pictures from my garden and I will try to get back to them. But right now, instead of just having the pressure of trying to keep up, I am skipping ahead to July and I am focusing on the echinacea that are out there in my garden right now. So I traced that simple design to help me. Again, I'm trying to just get through this. I still have another camp to teach coming up in 2 weeks. And I have a lot of other personal projects going on. Summertime is really busy around here. My kids are home and I love to enjoy that as well. So I'm just trying to do the best I can with the amount of time that I have, which I think is very relatable. I hope it's relatable. So I'm not trying to learn any new stitches this month. I am just going with tried and true things that I love that I think will also catch the echinacea here. And that is making a bunch of little French knots that are going to represent the very, very textured inner cone of those echinacea. And I am honestly using up some of the scraps of thread left behind from the residency I did at the high school that you saw. We made Tibetan prayer flags based on nature for the Kings Gap Environmental Education Center. It's down outside of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. If you ever get a chance, you can go and check it out. It's a really cool stone mansion and ecological center. So we did that project and I taught the kids about sewing and self-expression and being mindful of nature and how to show that in their work, which I think is very topical for this project as well. I actually took this project in and worked on some of it, the April wedge, in class and shared some of what I do with them in that way. And I thought they really enjoyed having that kind of like live artist moment or something. Anyway, so I'm just really filling up the inner cone here with a bunch of little French knots. I split my thread into half, so I'm using 3 strands, and then I am also wrapping it around the needle, I believe 3 times, and I just go on filling in with this dark sort of brown leftover scrap. It's kind of like a chestnut color. It's quite pretty, just to give it different textures. And I felt that really represented very well like I said, the little spiky nature of all the seeds inside of the echinacea cone. And then I switched colors to a lighter brown here for this section and continued on. I felt like adding a little bit of the different color would give a little bit of that depth. So all of the echinacea cone is not just one flat color. It's got lots of little colors in there, as most things in nature do. They're not just one color. So I switched to this like lighter brown, and I believe it has a very gentle ombre fade. I'm not sure if I did enough with it that you really got the whole impression of that, but the goldeny brown next to the little bit more chestnut brown, I felt gave a really nice depth to the cone and highlighted that there are multiple colors within the texture of the cone. I love the texture on that. It came out really good. Then I wanted to make some really quick petals, and you can see up there in the top left corner is my little inspiration echinacea. And all I notice about those petals of echinacea is that they're a little bit wild looking themselves, and they're not perfect. Their ends are kind of scraggly and they're twisted, and I don't know, there's sort of like a really wild beauty about them, just something very natural. So I used really long stitches here, and it went really fast. I just did maybe like 4 or 5 different stitches in each of the sections that I had sketched out. Tried to keep my stitches nice and tight and close together. And then I let the ends just be a little bit free and not worry about lining them up perfectly. I felt like that really captured the spirit of the echinacea well. And I even let some of them kind of overlap a little bit here. This one kind of comes up a little bit awkwardly from the middle. That's how my flower looked. It had a few petals that sort of oddly overlapped the ones next to them, and swirled around a little bit. So I just tried to go with that wildness and let it guide me, which also lent for the time crunch that I'm in, because there, I didn't have to be super fussy or particular about all of my stitches. And here it is, mostly done. I think I probably took a lunch break at this point, but you can see I feel like it's capturing the spirit of my echinacea really well. I finished up those last few petals, and then I added a really simple stem down here onto the bottom. I just used some little satin stitches, or like little lines, short lines of stitching going down and covering up over my sketch. It comes off to the side of the wedge a lot. I'm not sure if you can really see that there. It's going to blend a lot into August, but I thought that was really nice because July and August are definitely the most bountiful times in my garden. The most things are blooming, and they do all seem to have this chaos of blending together. So I felt like it worked out really well. I have zero idea what I'm going to do in August yet, but we'll get there when we get there. And I'm just trying to focus on the now, and that was a really simple way to just get the stem. The stems are kind of boring and simple. I do go in at the end and add a tiny little petal onto the side of it, but I didn't really want to focus on the leaves. They're not that interesting on the echinacea, in my opinion. Then I outlined my little butterfly in brown thread. Again, it was like a leftover that a kid had left behind, and I just tried to use it all up so it wasn't floating around unused in my box. And I am making a couple of little tiny French knots to represent the dots on the butterfly. I have those little like brown, I'm not sure if they're called like checkered spots or fritillaries or something. I don't know, but they're like little brown kind of nondescript butterflies that love these echinacea, and they're not super beautiful. I hate to be judging them, but they're not the most showy of all butterflies. Okay, they're just kind of like brown and spotty, but they're kind of darling, and they flit around in the garden, and they do bring their own little sort of common magic. So I'm just trying to capture that a little bit. I don't worry if I get it perfectly. I did not look like at a book or anything and reference it. I just sort of made up my own design, having a little spots and a couple of lines that would represent the decoration on the wing of the butterfly, the design of the butterfly wings. So I'm doing a couple of small French knots, and then I'm connecting it to the edge of the wing with a few lines of stitching. Again, I'm using a fairly thin thread here. I think it was split in half, so maybe 3 strands. Oh, and here I get a knot, so I spare you and turn it off, and then I skip ahead a little bit. You can see I've added just a few other brown bits in different sections, and then I am going back in now with like this buttery golden yellow color, which, forgive me, is a little bit off scene, but here it comes. And I'm just filling in between the lines that I created down there on the base of the petals to fill in just some very basic like satin stitches, some filler, not anything terribly special. Again, I'm just kind of trying to knock this out and move on. I have to get painting my daughter's bedroom, so I can't, honestly, I can't be doing too many other things right now. And making these videos takes time. I'm kind of feeling like I'm lacking right now with all of the other personal pursuits and professional pursuits that I have, but I wanted to get this up and not be too far behind. So I hope that you can understand. I wanted to keep up with the project. It is important to me, but there's lots of other people and things that are important as well. So I'm just filling in with satin stitches, not terribly difficult, but I do like the way this butterfly turned out. I feel like all of the different stitch movements that I chose did create an interesting butterfly wing for the lack of real like thought that I put into it. I kind of just, oh my gosh, forgive the pun, but I kind of winged it. And I just made it up as I went, and I'm really, really happy with it. And I was able to use up some thread that was just lying around in my little box of different smaller bits of thread, like little things, seriously, that kids had cut off of their projects or not used completely. So I was pretty happy about that. I was able to make it work and create something beautiful, basically from scraps, which is my favorite thing to do. And lastly, here I am filling up the interior section of the butterfly, filling in that little zigzag that I created with some more, it's even golder tone. It's more of like a light orange, very golden yellow. I'm not sure if it's picking up so much the contrast on camera, but in real life it is darker, and it does add a little extra layer of dimension to that line in the interior of the top wings. And I do this in sort of small V's with a line up the center, so small little wedges that are filling in those zigzags, and it really brings quite a beautiful texture, like I said, to the wings, and adds some interest for honestly very little effort, which seems to be the theme of this particular month. And here we go into the home stretch. I am just doing my very basic back stitch with 3 strands of thread and tracing the month, which is July. Not much to it here. I will go back in later when I have a little bit more time, when it cools off and my kids head back to school and stuff, I have a little bit more time, I will go in and add those wedge dividers and hopefully catch back up with May and June, which I will put up. Of course, the videos will be out of order, but at least you'll get to see what I chose to do, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more time to focus on getting back into learning some stitches, because I was really enjoying that about this project. Like I said, I got so far behind and I was getting frustrated, so I just didn't want to fall off of the project completely and feel overwhelmed and just let it go. So I decided to just go back and do some very basic things and skip ahead and give myself permission for it to not be perfect. And that is going to be in my end slide for my tips, is just let it be imperfect, skip ahead, move around. If you're uninspired or you're too busy, coming back and finishing it later and working from where you're at and what is inspiring you is much better than giving up on the project completely. So I'm trying to take my own advice and show up imperfectly the way I am. But thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you hanging in there over the past few months while I've been busy with other things. I hope that you feel inspired today and you get a chance to hop into whatever is making you happy in your stitching and sewing world. And I look forward to seeing you more regularly here in the months to come. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. How do you stay caught up during the summer? Any tips and tricks? Let me know what you've been up to. Have a great day. Thank you.